Hi, Get Unstuck Nation. Today, this is something that also very important to all the leaders and business owner, entrepreneur in general. We are going to talk about relationship and intimacy today. So please welcome Melisa Keenan here with me to Get Unstuck Radio. Hi, Melisa. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining me as well. So today we are going to cover about intimacy for high achieving business owner and individual. And it's so important that once you are so productive, you forgot actually how to connect with others because you really focus on what is in front of you, and that could get you stuck and jammed in many parts of your life, right? So we're going to talk about the relationship. So yeah, I'm excited to speak with you today, Melissa.
I'm so glad to be here.
So before we get started though, how you started your own entrepreneurial journey then?
Well, it started from the School of Hard Knocks. My husband and I had a lot of marriage difficulty in the first 5 years. Well, really the first 8 years of our marriage. The first 5 years, I was in the dark about what was really causing all the discomfort. I couldn't understand why we couldn't connect more. And I just kept thinking, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. And anyway, so we went through a lot. My husband and I have been through a lot together, but ultimately we were able to build back from really like a desolate situation. And because of my situation, I had surrounded myself with women who we all kind of felt jaded. We all kind of felt like, wow, we were sold this fairy tale and marriage really, like, it's impossible to be happy in a marriage. Like, we all felt that way. So when I found like joy and true connection in my marriage, it like something in me where I was like, other women need to know, like, it's not a fairy tale. It's different than what we thought, but it can be so rich and beautiful. And I felt so good. And so that is actually where my journey began. I didn't even know what that meant. Like it was like, okay, great, I have a mission. Like, what do I do? But slowly, over time, as the universe does, like, things were presented to me, and the idea of coaching and stuff like that kind of came into my world. And we had already done so many different tools and things that it was like a compilation of everything that we had learned through therapy and other coaches and all kinds of resources. And so that's how I began. It's been about 5 years.
So we can really receive more pleasure without limits, right? I know that you'll get more part, like the one that you can have more love, more connection, more income, and of course, more impact to the world. And starting from us, that is the real thing, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So when I always ask myself about this, because sometimes I think when things get into the part, quite some time, we may not see when this conflict started. How can you acknowledge the issue that's happening within your relationship?
Yeah, it's such a good question because I often think about how it feels when you lose yourself. We all are so attached to our cell phones that when you can't find your phone, and if it's been a little bit longer than normal, you really start to panic because you notice the loss and the gap. And there's so many things that we do now that our cell phone provides us with that we're like, what's going to happen if I actually have lost it? Like, I cannot find it. And the thing in a relationship is that it's almost like we don't know how to even have true intimacy and connection. That I define intimacy as closeness, intimacy. Like, we really don't have a society that where, we were raised by parents who were really vulnerable and open and connected with us, or where our teachers and our, community was really open and connected. That's very rare. And so it's different. Like, we don't realize what's missing. We just kind of feel this dullness, this emptiness, and a longing to be closer, but completely unsure how. And then what's fascinating is not only, are we kind of in this lost state when it comes to intimacy and true human connection, we also, due to our traumas and different things, build in defenses. So when someone does try to move in and get a little closer, or maybe they offer empathy to us, or maybe they offer a compliment even, we wall up and we're like, oh, no. Like, we turn compliment back to the other person, or someone empathizes with us and we're like, well, no, I didn't share this with you so that, it wasn't about that, whatever. We put up these walls. So so it really becomes very multi-layered where the problem is. So being able to see it, I think it's a slow process that takes time. I don't even think that I realized that it was true intimacy that was missing. I reflected in hindsight, and it was like, that's why I was unsettled all the time about our relationship.
Yeah, that's a good word. Settling in. Like, how does it really feel already settled inside the relationship? It could be fluctuated. Like, what is that feeling should look like in order to support the busy world as a business owner, let's say. Oh, I don't want to deal with this thing. Like, I mean, I can think of the time that I have a good relationship. It's very supportive. But then when it's not really settling in, I don't want to deal with this. I just close myself off. Like that.
Yep.
When women doesn't feel settling inside the relationship, how can they find a way to get out of that situation and feel settling in again? Because you mentioned that is the key. Like when you feel like it's decent, it's settled, then we can move on because it's in control, it's in managed. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you feel unsettled in your relationship, the very first, like most important thing to do is actually not go and try and solve a problem in the relationship. It's actually to look within and create intimacy first with yourself, that intimacy, which means really understanding, like, what am I feeling right now? That's the first thing. And then underneath that, what is that feeling leading me towards in terms of what I really value? Like there's our whole inner sensations, the feelings and physical sensations that we have. It's like a compass that is designed to guide us towards what we really value. So if what we really value is missing in a situation, we're going to feel all yucky. And we don't do that. We don't feel our feelings. We don't, if there's discomfort, we're more inclined to try to push it away and just get busy. Yeah. And then it builds and builds and builds until we can't ignore it anymore. And next thing you know, we're either completely shut down, like you described, or we're lashing out. We end up in a fight or flight. So it's really key to begin to create that with yourself. And I also find within that, women can be really disconnected from our true heart's desires. Society is always shoving shoulds on us, what we're supposed to be doing, who we're supposed to be, and benchmarks we're supposed to achieve and stuff. So a lot of times the desires that we have or the goals that we have may not even really connect to our heart. We might not even feel all that excited about them. We might feel excited about the accolades or something that come as a result of getting that goal, but like it doesn't really resonate with our heart. So being able to connect back in and even go, what do I really desire in this is so huge.
Because of that, what block how either men or women being more in their power to do that? So
well, it requires some willingness to go against the grain. Particularly for women, one of the biggest issues I see is like because of the modern day feminist movement, which has brought about really great things, it also has brought with it some side effects that still kind of threaten to pull us out of ourselves. Like most women, if they're really get honest with their heart, they want to feel cherished. But no women are saying that because that sounds weak and sounds like you need people. We want to feel like truly seen, truly honored, truly understood, like adored and admired. And we we feel like we are not allowed to want any of that stuff. So, partnership, not getting some of those things, we don't even, it's like we bypass all that. We just start to like pick apart problems or pick apart our partner or criticize or go into control mode rather than just being like, I want to be held, like I want to be seen. Like those are such vulnerable questions. Sometimes we can't even access them, so for women, that's kind of the dynamic. And I do see like it seems to be somewhat more organized by genders. Honestly, it's even worse because we live in this masculine energy heralded society, which is all supposed to be focused on, your achievements, your accomplishments, like all this stuff. So for a man to even express that he has a desire, for example, for greater connection, he has got to feel super safe in his relationship before he will ever express something like that. Another example of that is stereotypically men are supposed to just want sex all the time. That's just supposed to be how they are, right? So if you get a man who doesn't feel that way or who actually needs like more emotional connection before he feels ready to engage in physical connection, like, well, how is he even supposed to communicate that? Because nothing in society, he feels like an alien in his world, right? But it's so unfortunate, like really connecting to our true heart's desires, you have to go against society and all that messaging. And so that ends up being a lot of the work that I do with clients. Is kind of like, let's break down like what's preventing you from really connecting with what you want, and then being able to express that to your partner.
Do you think why do men struggling to like really authentically express themselves?
It's so loaded. And nowadays more and more works have been written on this, which I really am so glad for our men. But since he was born, he was told things like, even simple, innocent seeming things like be a man, which comes with all these implications of like, so therefore don't have feelings, don't be a quote unquote sissy, don't, all the way up to, really vulgar things of like, you are not allowed to have these things that you want. And I even look at my husband's circumstances, who he was raised in a lovely family with by people that really cared about him, but there was so much expected of him from such a young age that no one ever really sat with him to be like, what do you want? Like even his career wise, it was always like, oh, okay, so how are you going to, these benchmarks? And if he ever expressed that he wanted some career that didn't make a lot of money, that was immediately reflected back to him. Well, that doesn't make enough money. There's no way you'd be able to provide for a family with that. Like, so they have all kinds of pressures and things that have made that so difficult. And often, women come to me, primarily, that's kind of who I market to, even though I work with both men and women, but I speak to women, and a woman will come to me and she's frustrated because her husband won't open up, or her husband, doesn't really share his true feelings or any of that stuff. And I help her just kind of become more of a soft landing place with him. And it's amazing because I kind of look at it like all of our men have this inner child that's like dying to just say the things that he has never been able to say, about what he really wants and all of that. But if he's in a partnership where he's constantly met with criticism or doubt, or, not allowed to lead in any of the situations because she always has to be in charge or any of that stuff, then he's less inclined to do any of that. And he often can be very happy to take the back seat, where you find partnerships where the woman is now kind of wearing the pants, quote unquote, or in her masculine energy more so than him. And he kind of is more in a feminine energy role, just go with the flow, try to keep her happy. And that's a dynamic where nobody's really happy in that relationship.
That's interesting. That is a very interesting way to take a look. Wow. Yeah, it's kind of hard. So I'm thinking about, I know this is another thing. How do you suggest your clients to balance? Like me, I'm still working a lot, like in a day, to still have time and a safe zone for relationship. That's a lot of work. I know. Yeah. So how would you suggest someone in my position, let's say?
Well, the first thing, so I'm curious just about you in general. Are you in a relationship right now or not?
Right now, no.
And I find that jump is a little bit harder because it's this huge game. Like dating, right, requires that you enter into such attitude of openness, discovery, almost adventure, curiosity, because you go on like many first dates and most of those are not going to lead to a second date. Like, so to be in this state of openness and curiosity can be so challenging. And I've had women say to me, but particularly high-powered business women, be like, this is a waste of my time,
I know, right? I know.
And it's like I go on these dates, and then we have this tendency to want to kind of turn it into a business interview, like we're hiring for somebody on our team. I love you're laughing. I know I'm hitting right on.
That's so funny, but that's true. Like, that's so true. I'm like, I don't have any else thing in my mind except like business. That's so true. Yeah.
So in that position, what I would encourage you is like, okay, if you carve out, every Friday or something like that, right? And you're like, I'm going to have this Friday be about play and getting to know myself. And then if it works out that, you're invited to a date or there's somebody that sparks your interest and then you have a date on that Friday, it's still about play and getting to know yourself. You go on to the date and it's all about, oh, this is interesting. Like, whatever. He just said something so awkward and I'm noticing everything about me. Like, I'm so embarrassed he just said that, or I'm so uncomfortable, or whatever. It's all about self-discovery. And I find that kind of helps women then go, oh, because what you discover in those little precious moments of this date, you can go and, learn a lot about yourself that you can go then use in your leadership as a business owner. And I find that in the dating world, like, okay, then now I have some motivation. This is interesting. Now this is about like self-study and curiosity and, just accessing play and openness in myself. And then what's great about that is it also takes the pressure off this poor fellow who's really not in an interview. And you may find, because the thing is, when we're in that interview mode, which is masculine energy, we really can't see the beauty in the other person. So when we sort of step into that play and getting to know ourselves, we step into feminine energy. It gives a space to actually begin to experience connection if there's a spark there. So, it's about finding what really motivates you, and making it about that more than anything.
Yeah, it's so hard to find like that click that would change my personality, that I show up, and that's so bad. Like, I know. I totally get it. Let's remove from like single person like me, but like for those who are already in a committed relationship or in a partnership and they want to embrace their relationship while they're still working a lot, what they have to shift to make a better connecting and intimacy relationship. I know that these things are like dreams come true, but it requires works for sure.
Okay, so I've worked with people who are running 3 businesses together, right? Or, I've worked with people I've actually worked with a couple too who were running 3 businesses and they were all separate. And so here's what I'm going to say, and people listening are not going to like it, but the excuse of there's not enough time to try to make this relationship better is a lie. We're totally lying to ourselves, because the reality is a healthy relationship doesn't take that much time. If there are some big gaps, like if the disconnection has gone on for so long that there's actually some real hurts, that is going to take time, right? We do need to like go through and heal the traumas and heal our hearts, and then be able to come together and have conversations about that. That is going to take more time. But even that, it's like, okay, an hour a week or something. Let's have these deep conversations. Like, we can do that, right? So usually when someone is saying, I'm just so busy, I just don't have time, they're not motivated. So either it feels too hard, or it feels impossible, or, they're lacking some hope because of the situation for whatever reason. There's been too many arguments that have ended in the wrong way or whatever. And so it's finding again, like, what is it that I'm really seeking in this partnership, and how can I begin to build on that? Because when we're experiencing what we really love, those things that we deeply value, as we mentioned in the beginning, we're motivated to make the time. We are motivated to clear the waters and do whatever we need to do to have that and to spend that time. So if it's sex, for example, that's a huge one that comes up with people where, I guess I'll speak in stereotypes because this is what I hear most often. Like, the woman will be like, I'm just too tired at the end of the day after I've already like made all the meals, I'm helping take care of our children, I'm in charge of all the appointments, I'm also running my own business and running, dealing with the headaches there and, et cetera, et cetera. At the end of the day, I don't have any energy for sex. Reality is she's lost touch with her desire or her pleasure. So she's just lost touch with that motivation. And it's not to say that it's a hopeless situation by any means. It just takes intimacy with yourself to figure out, what is it that I'm craving? What is that value that's really been missing for me that I can now pursue and go forward?
You need to make decision for yourself first. What do you want?
Yep.
And to that, and then communicate, right? That's what I hear a lot. Like, just ask and find a common ground. But I know it's not easy. I just like thinking easy way again. So this is how I work. But yeah, I hear that. I know this is something that is required having an expert to come in and take a look I'm really think so. Because like sometimes when you are in a relationship, you don't see the factors that causing the issue. And the more you closer to the problem, you can't find a way out, right? It's required a third eye or third party to take a look at it and helps you walk through whether you're going to stay here or set apart. So in case anyone want to connect with you or work with you, where can they find you then?
My website is a great place to come and blog. I've got lots of resources there, but I've also got a free intimacy guide that you can download that gets you started right away into this self-inquiry, intimacy with yourself, and it kind of takes you through some steps so that then you can come to a place in your partnership where you can actually express what you uncovered, what you discovered as you did that inquiry. So that's www.melisakeenan.com.
So everything will be written in the description below, everyone, as well as in the show note. I think it's worth checking though to be able to express. It's so hard to ask for help, it's already hard, especially like when we are running. I don't want to use this as an excuse, but it's so hard to ask for help. Like, I don't know why it's so hard, but I find it even more difficult the time passed by. So yeah, I think checking the checklist and see how Melisa can help you would be really helpful, because at least today I have learned a lot already. So thank you so much for your time with Get Unstuck Radio today, Melisa.
Thank you so much.